All right, this is for intercultural communications in the spring semester. The project known as the Eastern European and Russian cultures relates to intercultural business relations and communication. This is by Jonathan Beres, Joshua Semon, and Carson Kerr. Today's date is April 29, 2019. The introduction. This is the introduction for the PowerPoint for Russia and Eastern Europe, the business practices and how they work. I want to give a quick lesson real quick before I go into it, since this is very important. Russia used to be known as the Soviet Union for years. They had control of all of Eastern Europe after World War II. Had control of them from 1945 until 1991 when the Soviet Union fell. And after the Berlin Wall came down and after the Iron Curtain was lifted, they got their independence from Russia. And a lot of their business practices are very similar. How they would do things, how they deal with each other. They have a lot of similar stances in how they deal with the workplace. It's just how it is, since they were under control for so long. Now, this PowerPoint will help, like I said, with business practices, what goes on in the workplace, anything that goes on. And the PowerPoint will explain these things. The greetings, general etiquette in the workplace, eye contact, hand gestures, sayings, an employee-employer relationship, men and women in the workplace, cultural dimensions, and leadership dimensions.
When meeting someone for the first time, one of the first things that they are going to notice is the way that you dress. In order to give a good first impression, you should dress appropriate for the culture. For Eastern Europe and in Russia, it is appropriate for men to wear a business suit and tie. For women, the dress is a little bit more conservative, with a skirt that comes below the knee with a business suit. Women are also expected to keep the colors of their outfit subdued, so it is important to stick to grays and blacks. Pantsuits are not permitted for women. Shoes should always be polished and clean. People typically dress according to their socioeconomic class, meaning that if someone makes a high salary, they are going to dress with higher quality materials and with higher fashion labels.
Now, we're on to greetings. Greetings is a very important part of the business culture anywhere. First off, we had the dress code that was first stated, which lets you know what you should wear. But greetings is the second most important part because people judge you based on your attitude for greetings and respectfulness and the way you dress your clothes. So, in my opinion, this is probably one of the biggest things right after the dress code. Now, let's first talk about Russia. The biggest thing in Russia is that they believe that you should shake their hand very firmly while having heavy eye contact with them while shaking your hands. Do not take your eye contact off until shaking hands until afterward. Make sure you have a firm handshake with them with direct eye contact. That is the way the Russians greet each other for business. They are very formal, and they believe you should have respect of authority. That's how meetings are, and that's how most places have it, actually. And that is probably the best way to do business anywhere, is have respect and respect for authority and in people in general, and formal with anyone. That's how business is done, and that's how they do it in Russia, which makes good sense. Some Russians seem to have, though, a problem with personal space. It's not all of them. Some of them get a little too close toward you. It's not like a big thing that happens over there, but some people have personal space issues and they come a little close to you. If that happens, just slightly back up. Don't make it noticeable, though, because they might think that you got weirded out or something like that, or you might be disrespecting them, something like that. But just do it not really to make it noticeable. Don't make a big deal out of it. It's just how some of the culture is over there. So now on to Eastern Europe. The big thing about Eastern Europe is that they give gifts during meetings. It's one of the biggest things over there. It's a common thing in Eastern European countries all around the area. Here's a good thing to know. In Poland, Polish people are formal and they believe in giving handshakes after you go through a doorway, not when you're at a doorway. If you're in a doorway and you're trying to give a handshake, it won't happen. They believe it's rude for some reason. That's just how they are over there. So the best thing to do is just give them a regular handshake right after the doorway. Another thing to know is that Slovak and Polish people are pretty direct forward. They like to say what's on their mind, give you direct answers, very straightforward. So they may be a little bit informal to people and business meetings. That's how they are. It's not a big thing to do because some people are like that. But that's how Slovak and Polish people are, just some of them, not all of them. Another thing to know is that Czechoslovakian people, or Czech Republic people, are non-confrontational, making it easy to greet them. So it's very easy with Czechoslovakian people to greet them, talk to them. It's the same thing though, be formal and respectful for all these things. Throughout the whole thing though, Russian and Eastern European people, the two big things you have to notice is that you should be respectful and you should be very formal. That is the biggest thing.
Etiquette is important in any situation, but especially in business. In Eastern Europe and in Russia, punctuality is important and is expected. For executives of a corporation, it is almost expected that these people are going to be late for meetings. This is because they are seen as highly busy. When shaking hands, it is personable to remove any gloves one may be wearing. It is wise to avoid showing the bottom of one shoe as it can be seen as offensive. Personal connections help in business and establish trust. Starting a conversation with fellow business partners is a great way to establish these connections. While it may be good to discuss work outside of work, such as family life, as this helps to establish trust, it is important to establish some relationship with the person first. Otherwise, rushing into such conversations can come off as pushy and invasive. The culture is very short-term oriented, so avoid speaking too far into the future. If you are forced to set goals, make sure you're setting short-term goals. Showing some knowledge about the culture, history, and language can help build connections. Researching the country before travel is important. Know some small words of the language and some small phrases, along with some general history. Strength and assertiveness is respected. When someone says no, it is expected that you do a counter-offer and you stand your ground. Orthodox and Catholic religions are dominant, so observe any holidays that may be upcoming. Research such holidays and ensure that you are providing enough time to observe the holiday.
Eye contact, hand gestures, and sayings. Eye contact is a very important tool used to show attention, appreciation, respect, understanding, and many other actions. People use eye contact to show their attentiveness during a conversation and to show that they are currently listening to what is going on. Eye contact in these areas is very similar to the United States. Eastern Europe and Russia have very similar meanings when it comes to eye contact. Keeping eye contact during a conversation is very important. When looking at someone during a conversation, it shows that you are listening to what they have to say and showing that you are paying attention to what is going on. Eye contact can be very meaningful and can mean very good things, but also very bad things, depending on how you are using your eyes. Hand gestures are also used to help communicate. They are very common to see in Eastern Europe and in Russia. Hand gestures allow a person to make motions with their hands to help communicate what they're trying to get to the other person. Putting your hands in your pockets along with crossing your arms during a conversation is a sign of disrespect. It shows that you are not interested in the conversation or you may be shy about the topic. Another action to be aware of in these areas is the head nod. In the United States, the head nod is usually a signal of the meaning yes. In some areas here, it actually means no. This is something a business professional would very much need to be aware of when conversating with someone of this area. conversating from people from this area, it is very much frowned upon to speak about religion or politics. People in these areas believe that a visitor should not have a say on their stands with religion and politics. This also is very important for someone to know if they are trying to do business in these areas. Something like this could be the difference between making a deal and not making a deal.
The superior and subordinate relationship in Eastern Europe and in Russia is quite formal. It is expected that one respects the titles of individuals. If someone has a high-up title, such as a CEO, it is expected that that person gains the respect that comes with the title. Strict managerial control is common. It is expected that a manager provides explicit detail and instruction to a subordinate for completing a task. It is expected that the subordinate follow these details to the T to complete the task. Once completed, it is not uncommon for the manager to go over the subordinate's work with the subordinate and ensure that it meets the quality expectations of the company.
Men and women in the workplace. Men and women in Eastern Europe and Russia are treated much differently in the business environment. Women are not given the same attention as men, and they also do not hold the same job positions. Women hold much lower ranks in business and very rarely hold high-up positions. Men are the ones seen holding these high-rank positions. It is very unlikely to see a woman be a CEO or hold a senior spot in the staff. This is just because men believe that women are not equal in the business world in these areas. There is a very popular trend of women leaving career paths that could lead to high-rank positions. This is because they feel that they are treated unfairly and do not think it is worth their time to be doing a job where they think that they cannot be promoted to these high-rank positions. The uneven treatment of women compared to men can be seen as something like a meeting. In the meeting, if a woman were to bring up a topic, it would not get attention if a male said the same thing. Men are the one receiving more respect in this situation. Men will pay more attention to one another compared to a woman because they feel that they are superior in the business world. Cultural and leadership dimensions. Eastern Europe and Russia are very inclined to be collective along with having a high power distance. This means that they are willing to work with each other, but they do not believe that power should be even with one another. They see that power can be either very high or very low between one another. Eastern Europe and Russian society puts a very high importance on loyalty to family and others that are a big part of their life. They value relationships and they like to keep everyone close. There is not a high interest in performance orientation or future orientation. There is not very high standards and performance improvements are not very often seen. They also do not put an interest into becoming better in the future or advancing their future even further. Team leadership and team orientation are high priorities when it comes to business. This does not mean that they also do not value independence. Both of these aspects can be seen in the society. They are ranked one of the highest in self-protective leadership. This means that their leader is something that is special to them and they protect what they have to say and follow what they have to say no matter what.
Whenever traveling abroad, it is good to have a general understanding of the culture. When dealing with business, it is especially important due to the fact that there is potential income directly related to the interactions with the other culture. Failure to learn about the culture can insult the people of that culture and hinder efficient communication. Eastern Europe and Russia has specific cultural nuances for dress, general etiquette, and more that are necessary to learn for effective business meetings.